The story of the film is about a Filipino woman who comes from the Philippines to work in Singapore as a maid. She comes here so she can send money home, remit money home, hence the title Remittance. It's sort of a coming-of-age story of a woman in her middle 30s who has 3 kids and discovers a part of herself for the first time, and the obligations versus her aspirations, and where does she stand on that. For some of the roles we're considering non-actors for the film, and we think that they could probably bring a certain level of realism, authenticity to it, and really bring a part of their lives to it. Today we had a workshop with our potential actors for the film.
The main point of what we're trying to accomplish with the workshops is, I guess there's 2 main points. One is it helps us in our casting. So we get to see the different women who are mostly non-actors and get to see what roles they could potentially play, what their range is, what they're comfortable with. And B, it's a good way for us to refine the script. We have the women worked up the scenes. We start with the script, but then we quickly go on to more of an improv scenario. And then we'll go back and kind of recalibrate the script to really kind of focus on the key points that they brought up in terms of how they would have these conversations.
One of the challenging things of working with non-actors is, I guess I would say, range. That a non-actor who can be themselves very truthfully is great, but the challenging part is it's hard to deviate from that. When asking them to do something beyond that, that's something that's more acting like someone else, or acting out of a different experience, that can be very challenging. Sometimes we hit a brick wall with that.
Most of the non-actors we're working with are employed as domestic workers in Singapore. When we think about getting the women on board for the project, we have to do several things. We have to schedule our entire production around Sundays, which is their main day off. So all of the key scenes that will involve non-actors who are domestic workers, we have to schedule them on Sundays. We actually basically need to go to the employers themselves through the maids and make sure they sign off on this project, which is a very awkward thing to do given that these women are grown women, but it's part of, if we want to use them, we have to play by those rules. One of the women we asked, hey, are your employers, what do they think about this? And the women were like, well, our employers are worried that maybe you're here from America to shoot some sort of porno film. So one level, it's actually kind of funny to have that question. We had a laugh about it. But the other level, it's actually quite a poignant reminder of how these women are seen in this society. Seen largely as irresponsible people where if they're left to their own devices, they'll just get themselves in trouble. And so we do have to assure their employers that this will not be a pornographic film, but it's also just, it's just a really powerful reminder why we're making this film in the first place.
We had the women improv and speak how they would speak in a real situation, and they get so much energy and it's so beautiful. But from a technical perspective, they're talking over each other a lot. So one of the challenges that we'll be facing, I suspect, is that their lines will be cutting off each other. So how do we do that in post? So we tried in the rehearsal having them not talk over each other, but then we lost the energy.
I think our big challenge as filmmakers will be figure out how can we capture it in a way that we can convey that energy and spirit to an audience, and yet at the same time it doesn't come out all garbled and mismatched.
The challenges with working in Tagalog is that I don't speak it, so I don't know what they're saying half the time. So
half the time?
99% of the time, except when they throw in the English words. So it's very much a practice in telepathy or watching body language.
It looks good. Cut. Yeah.
But Pat, you speak. So.
Well, I can understand what they're saying. So when the women are speaking amongst themselves in Tagalog, I understand the conversation. We will have one of our assistants on set who's a native speaker of Tagalog who can really be there to help us really make sure we're getting the content we need. But I think a lot of this too, our style is really just trusting. We create situations, we make sure that the key beats of each scene are there. I think with this sort of filmmaking, when you want to give people that latitude, you can't be a perfectionist. I can't ever have allegiance to a line of dialogue. And I think we got to give up some control to make this film. And I think that's something we're pretty relaxed about. We've done this before on previous films. So I don't really see it as a challenge, it's just inevitability.